So there's some new and dangerous things happening seemingly every day under the presidency of Elon Musk and Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin, the three people who now are in control of the United States well, and Ukraine and some other places. That is the goal. This is happening at an alarming pace, even though we knew it was the goal. We knew this was happening, but we're still kind of shell shocked by the whole thing. Um, One of the things that they do for this shock and awe to make it happen quickly is force and unexpected force on American civilians. And we saw this when there were members of Congress trying to get into the federal buildings over which they have constitutional oversight. They have budget authority and oversight over our federal agencies. And when they heard that Elon Musk and his little band of criminal hackers were going in and locking people out and firing people, they don't have authority to fire people, and they were keeping out members of Congress, House and Senate members who were outside of the buildings in Washington, D.C., trying to get in to see what was happening, again, over these agencies over which they have authority because we elected them to have that authority. It's that simple. So they were doing the right thing. They were kept out let's see, that was a couple weeks ago, Blackwater, by the Blackwater Special Forces private security firm that was originally started by Eric Prince, Betsy DeVos's brother. And this is what Trump has always wanted, his own private militia, his own private army that are seemingly above the law or around the law. The law doesn't apply to them. This is separate from the Secret Service. He's made pretty good inroads into making the Secret Service his own private militia. We know that from January 6th and before. So now they're hiring these private militia forces to keep members of Congress out. And no one really, I mean, who do you call to rectify this? This is not what we do in America. This is illegal. You can't be doing this to people when they are not doing something illegal. These are just your hired thugs. So now we have a woman who went to her Republican congressman's town hall meeting, I believe it was in Idaho, and she stood up and she demanded answers to what Elon was doing, what was happening in Ukraine, just all this stuff that's happening, these illegalities and under Trump. She was physically dragged out by a private security firm hired by this congressman, not local law enforcement, not federal law enforcement, privately hired thugs. They dragged her out, zip ties and everything. In America, this is happening. The name of this firm, let's see, we now know it's Lear, Lear Asset Management. Paul Trowett apparently is the CEO. I'm seeing this. Somebody put it online, and they are called Asset Protection and Management. And you literally hire them to do this sort of thing when you know that law enforcement won't. So this is what Trump and his thugs are doing. They are just hiring their own private thugs. Now, Trump has always done that, only now he's doing it with somewhat of an air of authenticity, I guess he thinks. This is a type of thing that dictators and authoritarians do, murderous dictators, in fact. So he tried to do this with the Secret Service with some success. We know that from January 6, 2021, the attack on the Capitol. We know that the Bidens switched out their Secret Service detail that had been assigned to them under the Trump administration when they got into office because there were some problems. There were some problems, illegalities, and some fraud and some funny business going on with Jill Biden's Secret Service. And I will maintain that when the Biden German Shepherd kept biting Secret Service agents, he knew. Commander was his name, right? He knew. He knew he was taking care of his people because he knew the Secret Service was not. The Secret Service deleted their text messages of that day. You don't do that unless you're guilty, as you know what. We know that the Secret Service that was assigned to Kamala Harris, then Vice President-elect Kamala Harris, she was taking a non-public but planned visit to the DNC that day on January 6th. which meant that the Secret Service would be going in advance of her visit and doing a bomb sweep with the dogs, the whole 9 yards, in and around the building. And we know what happened that day. They somehow missed the pipe bomb. And the vice president-elect, the first woman, a Black woman, elected to the position, literally was driven mere feet away from the pipe bomb. The Secret Service doesn't miss pipe bombs like that in an advanced sweep. So they're dirty. And we know this. And Trump hired his top Secret Service guy in an unprecedented and alarming move that shocked everybody, made him his deputy White House chief of staff, like demanding a political loyalty there. So Trump made great inroads into making the Secret Service his own private militia. And we know that Mike Pence, his vice president, didn't trust him. He knew something was amiss because he refused to get into the car with them when they tried to get him out of the Capitol building. He knew they weren't going to let him come back. He didn't know what was going to happen to him because Trump had other people trying to hang Mike Pence, trying to kill him. So Mike Pence kind of had a clue what was going on with the Secret Service. So now we have Eric Prince with Blackwater, private security firm. We have this other one. I was just reading from a business card that I saw online. This other one hired by a congressman, literally took a woman, a constituent who was at a town hall meeting, to ask questions and demand answers from her elected representative. They zip-tied her and they dragged her out of the hall. She wasn't doing anything wrong. She wasn't doing anything illegal. She was not in violation of anything. And regular law enforcement wouldn't be able to do this to her unless she was violating some kind of law or being a danger to somebody or something. Regular law enforcement, local law enforcement, state law enforcement, federal law enforcement, they're not going to do anything for a woman at a town hall meeting demanding answers and accountability from her member of Congress, her Republican member of Congress. It took hired thugs, privately hired thugs. So I think that we need to know who paid for them, who hired them, who gave them the parameters and the permission to do this, because this is going to be the norm. This will be the norm, where these privately hired thugs will be able to, I guess, physically overtake elected law enforcement until they comply. So it seems that Trump and Elon Musk, and we know that Trump takes these types of instructions from Putin from the past, they're going to do the hired thug thing, I guess, until regular law enforcement, the real law enforcement, get in line, or they'll simply roll over them and there's nothing anybody can do. This is why Trump pardoned all the January 6th insurrectionists, these traitors, these violent thugs. He wants to make them his own private militia. I mean, he pardoned them once. They can do whatever they want, right? He wants this. He wants the physical violence. And if you recall, during the legal Black Lives Matter protest, when Trump walked out of the White House and crossed the street, remember he had Kayleigh McEnany with him and Bill Barr and all these thugs, all these traitors with him, walking across the street, and he held that Bible upside down. He wanted to shoot those people, Americans. He wanted to shoot them just to teach them a lesson. Right before he did this, right before he crossed the street to the boarded up church and held the Bible upside down, he had been on the phone with Vladimir Putin, and Putin told him he had to dominate the streets. So Trump takes his cues, his advice, and his instruction from Putin. And we've known this. We've known this all along. We knew it during the Mueller report. We knew it. And now we just can't talk about such things. He's an illegal president. He's not legitimate. He never has been. And he knows it. And he knows it. And that's why he does these blatantly illegal things. And he's got other Republicans following suit. So you hire a private security firm, your own private thugs. Under what authority do they act? Under what legal authority? Can I open a private security firm tomorrow? Hire a bunch of big, strong guys off the streets, give them weapons, give them zip ties, and then allow them to physically manhandle somebody that I don't like and drag them out of a room, throw them out on the street? Because that's what's happening, folks. I'm not one to advocate violence, but you do have to fight back. Do not obey. Do not obey. Okay? People in the military, if you're ordered to do something that you know is wrong, that is anti-American, don't do it. Don't invade Greenland, for starters. How does that sound? It's not for any national security purposes. Greenland isn't invading here, isn't attacking us. Trump, Elon Musk, and Vladimir Putin simply want to steal from them. Just like in Panama. Look what they're doing with economic warfare in Canada. Look what they want to do in Gaza. It's happening quickly. None of this is by accident. It's not coincidence. We must fight back. And I don't think we've done a very good job of it. The world is watching and waiting. If we fight back, they will be with us. It's interesting to read foreign press to see their take on things. And they know some things, and they're reporting things that our own press won't. Our own press is too afraid to do so. But if you fight back, we have a chance of winning. If you just roll over, or if you allow somebody else to fight the fight for you, you might not be safe. If you're one of those people that keeps the MAGA friends in your life and you decide to just not talk politics, well, this isn't politics anymore. And you know it. And that's not sustainable, given everything that's happened, and importantly, everything that's going to happen. I mean, what do? Sit around and talk about the weather? Or do you pretend to be one of them? Because one day you'll have to answer for this. One day you'll have to answer for this. I am very encouraged that so many of my friends who are not involved in politics are now much more vocal than they were before. I think before they were of the mind, well, it's politics and I'll vote for Kamala, but I don't want to, get into these Facebook fights or arguments with friends, and I don't want to lose my MAGA friends. And now, increasingly, I see some of these same people being very direct on Facebook. And these are, your Facebook friends aren't bots and trolls. These are people, from high school, from college, or that you grew up with. Twitter tends to be a different kind of animal with lots of bots and trolls. I'm talking about just regular people. And they have gotten rid of some of their MAGA friends. They've unfriended them. They stand up to them. They correct them when they're wrong, and they're making it very clear where they stand. This was Germany 1934 or whenever. What you were doing? That you've seen the saying. Think about what you would have done at that time if you were in Germany. The rise of Hitler. You're doing it now, and I've seen a lot of people. Again, people who aren't necessarily activists or political people, but they are Americans. And they are patriots, and they see what's happening. And they realize that their MAGA friends are not the people they thought they were. They probably could forgive them 2016, 2020, but not now. Not now. You cannot support the private militias and dragging Americans out of town halls with their congressmen. There's dozens of things every day that if MAGA actually were paying attention to what's happening and you nail them on it, you support this. What is disqualifying for MAGA? So far, it seems to be when the cuts and the pain that Elon Musk and Trump are imposing on us start hitting them. And we see that with migrants too. They're like, "Oh, we didn't know he was going to deport us. We thought just the criminals." Nope. Nope. Anybody who believes Trump on anything deserves what they get. I mean, it's kind of a stupid thing to do, don't you think?